let me ask you guys this. And again, this we don't know the ideological leanings of this person. We don't know if, they could be politically all over the blue. We don't know. But let me ask you guys this question. Do you think I'm right that even if it is like a clear-cut case of like some white nationalist or groyper type or whatever, that this guy turns out to be, that Trump will just pretend that it's otherwise or use this anyway to his ends?
I heard the congressman on there saying, we need to tone down the rhetoric. Well, will the rhetoric get toned down? I mean, again, I go back to what was on the bullet from this kid was fascism, and that's only coming from one side currently in this debate, and it's on every placard and every poster around the country. I mean, I think it's a valid question, but are they going to live up to what they say they're going to do with the Nazi and the fascism and the like? I
don't think we know, just to be clear, I mean, just law enforcement people, I don't think we know the meaning of his message. We know his history.
Bella Ciao is an anti-fascist thing. It says fascists catch this.
Then I'll give you his history. Then I'll give you his history, right? Think about his history. His history, but this is not the.
Why are we debating it? This is what I'm
that's why I wanted to tell you. This was my point, not yours. This was my point, not yours. The point is, who cares? A man was killed. And you have yet to say political violence is bad, period. That's all that people want from the president. That's all. And we're getting the spin up of the you and this and what. Stop counting. Well, stop looking, because you're not going to divine a perfect motive in this case. I think we're looking for it. You're not going to divine it. We generally don't.
All right, guys. So on this episode of debunking the blue and on lies that are spreading throughout the mainstream liberal media and online about how Charlie Kirk's assassin, Tyler Robinson, is somehow, some way far right, a groyper. He's a Trump supporter. He's a conservative, even though there's zero evidence or proof whatsoever that the assassin is far right. In fact, we have overwhelming evidence. It is undisputable at this point that the assassin was influenced by far left Antifa ideology. And I have to continue to state that because we have to continue to push back against these lies. And we have a bombshell story that basically blows open any of the claims from the left that somehow, some way, this assassin was far right, unless they want to do some very, 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 very ridiculous mental jiu-jitsu, which I would not put past them to do the mental jiu-jitsu that would be required to make their blue and on conspiracies make sense after this bombshell news report, which is that the alleged assassin lived with a transgender partner, which would make sense, right? It would make sense in the grand scheme of all of the things, all of the evidence that we have, leading us to believe the obvious, which is that, again, this guy was a far left Antifa influenced individual. And I think that this update, again, kind of confirms exactly what we all know, okay? But the left refuses to acknowledge. So let's read here. Charlie Kirk's alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, was living with a transgender partner who was in the process of transitioning from a male to a female, a law enforcement source confirmed to the Post Saturday. That individual has yet to be identified by the authorities, is now fully cooperating with the FBI on its investigation into the fatal shooting of the conservative activist, the source added. The relationship was first reported by Fox News' Brooke Singman. Text messages and other communications that the transgender individual traded with Robinson, 22, helped the feds nab the accused assassin. Wow. Federal and state authorities revealed during a Friday press conference that a roommate cooperating with their investigation revealed communications from a contact named Tyler that described bullet casings similar to those found at the scene and discussed, quote, the need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point. Yeah, so what we have here is a Fox News reporter basically confirming that the assassin of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson, lived with his transgender partner. So basically, this guy, Tyler Robinson, was living with a male transitioning to a female. So I guess technically that makes him gay, right? Because he is into a male transitioning to a female. I don't know, right? But yeah, I mean, that's what we have here. And apparently, this individual was texting or coordinating with the transgender roommate, okay? And that the FBI, they are currently reviewing these texts and other communications. Now, that begs the question of, again, could that have been a part of the reason why the shooter decided to assassinate Charlie Kirk? Okay, because again, we know that there was reports about trans stuff being written on the bullet and casings. Now, the media has dismissed this report as, well, this was false. But when you take into account the fact that, you know, when you look at the whole furry culture stuff, it's kind of related, right? It's kind of related to that far left stuff, right? That stuff that we all know that, you know, these people are into, right? It's all kind of related to a certain extent. So again, I wouldn't be surprised, okay? Because again, this dude apparently is into like furries and stuff like that. And now you have this report that he has a trans roommate who's transitioning from male to female, okay? And that this roommate apparently was aware of some of these text messages from the assassin related to his plot against Charlie Kirk. Also on top of that, the last question Charlie Kirk answered before he was murdered was, quote, "Do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Charlie replied, "Too many." He was then asked, "Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the past 10 years? And then Charlie replied, "Counting or not counting gang violence." And then Charlie was assassinated. So could his relationship, alleged relationship, because again, all this is alleged. I just want to be clear. All of this is alleged, okay? This is just coming from a Fox News reporter, okay? This is what she's putting out there. But again, could this be one of these things where this individual, again, steeped in far left ideology, right? Also allegedly in a relationship with a trans person, could it be related, right? Could it be one of those things where, again, his relationships is related to his apparent dislike of Charlie Kirk, who the left sees as standing against trans people, being hateful towards trans people. Remember, the family said that the assassin did not like Charlie Kirk because Charlie Kirk was spreading hate, right? Who is Charlie Kirk accused of spreading hate towards the most? Trans people, right? Not Groypers, right? Not Nick Fuentes, not the narrative that the media is putting out there. Again, I shouldn't have to break it down like this. I shouldn't have to break it down. And I know I don't have to break it down. I know I don't have to break it down like this for you guys. But I feel like for anybody watching the video that, again, is moderate, that's center left, okay, please do not fall for the propaganda from the mainstream liberal media. Because if this is true, right, if this is true, what we're going to see here is a level of mental gymnastics that you just wouldn't think is possible, right? The mental jujitsu that they're going to do on this, again, it's going to be fascinating because now they're going to be telling us that Charlie Kirk's assassin somehow, some way is a far-right, gay, trans-loving Nick Fuentes fan, right? That is now what the Blue Anon conspiracy theorists are going to have to finagle together to the people that they're trying to convince that the shooter is far-right, right? They're going to have to convince their followers that, again, this shooter apparently is far-right despite being in a relationship with a trans person, despite the Antifa inscriptions on the bullet casings, despite the family and friends basically confirming that, yeah, he didn't like Charlie Kirk because of his ideology and that he's far left, that he was a Reddit consumer, right? He was a Reddit guy, with Reddit, very liberal. Somehow, some way, all of this equals far right, okay? Again, that is what the Blue Anon conspiracy theorists and the mainstream, this is what they're going to try to convince sane people in this country. You should be offended, right? You should be offended intellectually by anybody that tries to convince you that somehow, some way, this shooter was far right. Okay, you should be offended, right? I'm so serious. That should be offensive at this point to even entertain that conversation at this point, especially if this is true. If this is true. So, again, the more facts that come out, the worse that is looking for the left in their narrative, right? Again, the governor came out and said that this was far left, right? This was far left. Again, we know, the FBI knows, everybody knows. Anybody saying anything differently at this point, again, they're just not in reality, right? There's just too much. The evidence is just, again, it's just overwhelming. It's overwhelming. So, again, we're going to learn more about this, but this is definitely a narrative breaker, right? This is a bombshell, a nuclear bomb on the Blue Anon conspiracy theory that they've been pushing on national television at this point. So again, we're going to see if this is actually confirmed, but if this is confirmed to be true, and those text messages come out showing that, again, a transgender individual may or may not have been involved in some of the communications, and that this may or may not have been done, again, because of the fact that this person, this assassin, clearly has relationships with trans people. Clearly, he's steeped in far-left ideology, which, again, is all a part of that. All that stuff is interconnected, is all related. Yeah, I mean, again, it's clear as day what happened. Clear as day. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure